Hello, everyone. Welcome to Human Anatomy. This is the first chapter, which is Introduction to Human Anatomy. So you have the ability to, um, stop or pause the video when needed, or you can rewind it when needed. So you can do that to learn from this lecture at your own pace. With that being said, the way that you should use these lectures is as if you were sitting in the classroom, and so you need to take notes. So if you don't know how to take notes, then all you have to do is go ahead and Google how to take notes in college, maybe. And then there is all these different tutorials on how to have good notes or how to take good notes when you're going to lecture, and then also how to use your notes after you're done taking them, because you don't just write stuff down and not look at it again. So you have to write stuff down and then go back and review the material and maybe even rewrite in your own words, so it makes sense to you. So that's really how you should be using these notes. So first take notes. um, you know, make sure you take notes during the videos, and you go back and review your notes and make sure you understand it. And if you don't understand it, please come talk to me, or come see me during my office hours, or maybe talk to your peers and make a study group so you can talk about the materials either in class or outside of class. So all those things will help you with your studying. And if you go to Canvas, I have gotten the outline for the lecture. So all these PowerPoint slides are uploaded on Canvas that you can go ahead and download all the slides, print them out, and you can maybe print 3 slides per page or maybe even 6 slides per page. And you can even write your notes on there as I'm going through my lecture. You can, add the notes there, um, or you can use your iPad or your tablet just to take the notes, but just make sure you're taking notes. And these slides come from the textbook. And so these were the people who wrote the textbook. And then I, as the instructor, went in there and edited the slides to my own liking. So it's kind of like a hybrid between what they give us and what I want to present. So let's go through the first chapter, which is the foundation of human anatomy. So the first thing you have to understand is most colleges and universities, they have A&P class, which is anatomy and physiology. They teach both of those together. So some colleges do things a little bit differently. So here we have a separate anatomy and physiology course. So that's the reason. So the reason why that is because we want you to know anatomy before you take physiology. Anatomy refers to the external and the internal structures, knowing the names of them, knowing the relationship between where you find these in the areas of the body. And also this will allow you to understand physiology better. So once you have to take physiology, you would have to know, you would already know that, and or you would have memorized the names of all these bones and muscles and things of all sort. So it should make physiology easier for you. And then if you were taking A&P class where they combine anatomy and physiology, I think most instructors lean more towards physiology part, where you're probably getting exposed to 80% of physiology and maybe 20% of anatomy. And so it's always good to take anatomy course because it's really focused on anatomy and it builds a good foundation in anatomy for later on in your studies. So what's the difference between anatomy and physiology? So anatomy is the study of internal and external structures. It's a relationship between the body parts and provides you clues about physiological functions, whereas physiology is how the body works, how the body functions. So what the difference between this anatomy and physiology is, anatomy means naming things, whereas on the other hand, physiology refers to how the body works. So physio refers to what are the mechanisms in the body to keep it in homeostasis. And that's the term that I want you to know. So oftentimes, I don't write anything down So if I don't write anything down, students don't write anything down. So I hope that's not the case here, but sometimes I'm going to write down things for you. For example, homeostasis. Let me see if I can just type that here. So I'm gonna say homeostasis. That's the term maybe you learned in general bio. So you can pause this video and you can write down the definition for it yourself. And then when you unpause it, I will give you the definition here. So homeostasis refers to maintaining a stable internal environment. So hopefully I spelled that right. I rely on spell check a lot. So sometimes I'll just, misspell something and then hopefully it's going to correct it. So if we're going to maintain body functions, we have to have homeostasis. And this thing here is an example. This seesaw refers to the nervous system that you have in your body. So you got something called sympathetic nervous system. So let me see. So you have sympathetic nervous system that is described as fight or flight response. So you get scared by something and your heart. So when you get scared by something, for example, here there's a snake running after this person. So your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, and your senses are heightened, and we call that the sympathetic nervous system response, because that's that's the part of the nervous system that gets activated when you get scared or when you get angry, and this is going to explain what makes what this is going to explain, for example, the seesaw going this way is sympathetic and the opposite would be parasympathetic. So when you're not in homeostasis anymore, the seesaw is up. That means that you are outside of homeostasis. And if you stay like this, people who work in war zones, people who live in traffic environments or violent neighborhoods, maybe there's, where there's gang violence or they're constantly on the edge, your sympathetic nervous system is going to be activated. So it's always going to be activated. That's what's going to cause stress, and stress can cause bad things to happen. It can cause cardiovascular disease. It can cause forgetfulness. It can cause, many kinds of disease. So stress is not good for the body or the brain. So we need to bring it back down. So if this side is up, we need to bring it back down. And in order to maintain homeostasis. So when you bring it back down, we activate the other part of the nervous system, which is called the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is the rest and digest. So it's going to say rest and digest part of the, because that's part of the response for the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's basically what it does. It reverses all the stuff that sympathetic nervous system does. It lowers your heart rate, the blood pressure goes down, and your digestion wraps up. Um, Again, and that's called the parasympathetic nervous system, and they basically are the opposite of each other. In physiology, in physiology, basically they work in conjunction. They both work together in order to get some things done. But for the most part, you need both of these to maintain homeostasis. And most of us right now are in the area of sympathetic activity, because most of you maybe are looking at your phone right now. And if you put your phone down, you'll have anxiety because, oh, maybe you'll think about what I missed in this lecture. What did I miss? Um, or what if there's a text message that I have missed? So that's a kind of low-grade sympathetic nervous system activity. The anxiety can cause, again, bad things to happen. So I really encourage people to, try to find ways to bring your body kind of at a balance here. So, um, the ways to do that is maybe meditation, exercising, just reducing screen time and being able to sit quietly for short periods of time and not have anxiety. and that'll bring your body back down to the parasympathetic nervous system, and then that will make you more healthy. So this is physiology. So let's go back to anatomy, or what we were talking about. So this is called microscopic anatomy, or so micro stands for small. And in this case, in anatomy, you don't have to um, use, we use microscopes to look at smaller things. So the study of structures that cannot be seen without magnification, we need to use microscopes for that. And here is a is there a nerve cell here? So here's a nerve cell. Sorry, I was trying to clear up the drawing. So here's a nerve cell here, and study of the cells is called cytology. So cyto stands for, let's see, cyto stands for cell, and logi stands for the study of. So for example, bio stands for, bio means life, and biology is study of life. Same thing, psych stands for mind, and then psychology, study of mind. And then there is archaeology, is study of old things or ancient things. So the word art would mean old, and logi means, or archeo means old, and then logi means study of old things. So here cyto stands for cells, and people who study cells are called cytologists. And then we have also, we study tissues as well. So for example, later on when you look at group of cells, and that's what we have here, a group of cells, and that's going to make um, tissues, and that's what we call histology. So when I use the word tissues, I'm not talking about, Kleenex tissue. So, that's something you wipe your nose with. So when I talk about tissues, I'm talking about all kinds of things in your body, like muscle tissue. So we have things like muscle tissue, which is what you see right here. And we have, so hopefully you can see the cursor. Let me see, pointer options. So yeah, so that's muscle tissue there. We have nervous tissue, which is what you see. So this is the nerve cell over here. So we have all other kinds of tissue, like skeleton tissue or epithelial tissue. So cells make tissues, and here this is showing a muscle tissue. And we have skeleton tissue, we have epithelial tissue, which is referring to your skin, and related kinds of tissue. So the word tissue here refers to a group of cells that have similar kind of function. Cells make tissues, and tissues make organs. We're gonna get there. So when I was talking about Googling the definitions of, different words, so the reason I don't want people Googling definitions, because if you Google the word tissue, maybe you're going to get the definition of a Kleenex tissue that you wipe your nose with. So that's maybe the meaning of it in a regular dictionary. But if you're going to be using dictionary to look up biology vocabulary words, you should probably go find yourself a biology dictionary, and that's going to give you appropriate definition of the word. So if you're not sure, just to go to the back of your textbook. So to make sure you get a textbook first. And in the back of the textbook, there's something called glossary. And the glossary is basically is the dictionary for your book. So as I mentioned before, if you grab multiple cells and you just stack them together, then that group is going to call tissue. And in this case, you have muscle tissue here. That's showing muscle tissue. There's something called fascia as well here, some blood vessels. And they all link together. So you take some fat tissue, muscle tissue that makes up, the blood vessels, and you put all those things together, multiple tissues together, that'll make an organ. And you have maybe your heart is going to be, so your heart is going to be made up of muscle tissue, also known as CT, which stands for connective tissue. Where you have epithelial tissue, adipose tissue, which is the fat. So those are different kinds of tissues that will help make up the organs. So now, most of you guys probably think that anatomy is just this. This is a cadaver, which is a deceased person, and their lungs have been taken out here. They've been dissected out, and then you can clearly see the heart, the heart right here. So whatever you can see with the naked eye, that can be seen out without magnification or with the naked eye, that is called gross anatomy. So whatever you can't see with naked eye when it's maybe too small to see, that's microscopic anatomy. So that's microscopic, it means small. Macroscopic means big, means you can see it with your naked eye. So microscope is something we use to look at smaller cells that we cannot see with naked eye. And on the other hand, things that you can dissect that are going to be at the gross level, again, if you were to Google the word gross, you are going to get maybe a different definition than what you would get with the biology dictionary. It might have a different meaning compared to the meaning that we use here in anatomy for the word gross. So here, the word gross refers to what you can see with the naked eye, something that you can dissect, something that you can hold, something that you can see. So that's basically a big, the big picture. So this is why that's called macroscopic. Macro means big. And then small is microscopic. So we will be doing dissections during the semester as well, and we'll be discovering really cool things. So gross anatomy is not just, being able to do the dissection, we also have to name things on the surface of the body. So even if you don't cut into the body, all of these things that you can see have names. So you can see there are a lot of names here. You might feel overwhelmed with this. So for example, armpit area is called axilla. The toes are called digits over here. So the head region, there's going to be cranium or cephalon or cephalic region here. So by end of this course, you'll have memorized most of them, so most of these terms. So right now it looks maybe overwhelming, but that's okay because this is just the first lecture that we're going to, throughout the semester, we're going to break these down into smaller little groupings of words, and I'll try to give you kinds of tips and tricks to how to memorize some of these structures. So that's going to be surface anatomy. That's before you even cut into the body. So superficial anatomical markings. So there are going to be some terms that you're going to have to memorize. So for example, we have cephalon or cephalic region referring to the head area. And then we also have something called regional anatomy. This is, for example, refers to a specific area of the body, head or neck or trunk. So for example, part of the body around the head it's going to be called cephalon. That's the regional, or that's the area. There's regional anatomy there. So you don't refer to the head just with a cephalic word, but you might see the word cephalic in nerve, or with a nerve might be named with the word cephalic in it. And if you don't ever, or maybe a muscle will be named with the word cephalic in it. And if you don't even see that, maybe a blood vessel that goes through that area will be named with the word cephalic in it. So as long as you know what the word cephalic means, you will know that this is the area where this can be found. So it has to do something do with the head. So we will try to break this, part between the neck and then the pelvis area and then the trunk area. And then we have the upper and lower limbs, which are going to be different areas. So we have, head area, trunk area, upper limbs, lower limbs. So those are all the different regions. So that's regional anatomy. And I'll test you on each one of these regions, so both, in lecture and in the lab exams.